Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to be talking about a possibility of a red wave in 2018. The media has been discussing a lot about a Democratic wave, and even I have, and I want to see if it's possible for something like a Republican wave, as if the Republicans were favored to win the midterm election year. Now, this hasn't happened with the incumbent party winning seats since the year 2002, right after 9/11. And that was pretty much based off the fact that 9/11 occurred during the Bush presidency. But then when 2006 rolled around, the Democrats took control of both parts of Congress. And usually the opposing party would gain seats, but we haven't really seen this type of opposition towards a president from both parts of the political spectrum. We've seen it from many Republicans. We've seen it from almost every single Democrat. And it's really looking very difficult for the president to not only retain his base, but to gain any voters for possible elections like 2020 or even elections past that. The Republican Party is pretty much damaging itself right now. And I think we're going to see a scenario just like we did with President Bush. Republicans are going to start to distance themselves away from the incumbent president if they want to have a shot at winning any races that are considered swing or toss-up races. So this means races down in like Florida in the Senate race. Rick Scott may not want to brandish himself as a Trump-loving Republican because it may not help him considering Trump's approval rating down in Florida. But, there are many different types of Republican candidates, none of the same. Some are moderate, some are alt-right, and some are just conservative, like strict conservative. And, we see a very different type of Republican in the White House, one we haven't really seen ever in the White House before. And it's something that's shaking up the Republican Party. So the possibility of a red wave in the House of Representatives, not likely. In the United States Senate, it's possible, but, a lot of things are turning away from the Republican Party. So let's take a look at the Senate map as of right now, taking out putting all the leaning seats as toss-ups. So this gives the Democrats 41 seats and the Republicans 48. Tennessee considered lean red, whereas the rest of these are considered pure toss-ups, in fact. Wisconsin may be lean blue, but the rest of them are all just toss-ups. And, this puts the Republicans at a very possibility of an advantage in the United States Senate. But right now they have 51 to 49 in the United States Senate, with them in the majority. It could likely narrow down to around 50-50. I mean, the state of Wisconsin probably isn't going to the GOP. Ohio, the best Republican that could have ran just dropped out relatively recently, compared to when other candidates announced their bid for the election. West Virginia, there aren't really that many prominent Republicans out there. Down in Florida, the Republicans definitely do have a shot with Governor Rick Scott. But, a lot of things have been pointing towards the Democratic movement in the state of Florida, especially since it's been at the national front and national target for Democratic politics. And it's going to look increasingly harder for the Republicans to win there. In Tennessee, one of the most popular governors, a Democratic governor, is running for the United States Senate race there. I think it'll stay with the GOP, but that only puts them at 49. It's turning away from them in states like Nevada and Arizona. And if that goes to the Democrats, Montana is probably not going to the GOP. There are no prominent GOP frontrunners, and there probably won't be any. It's going to take a long time to get your name out in that state, and it's not going to be easy for the GOP candidate. This isn't some type of urban state where one political ad will reach thousands. No, it'll reach maybe hundreds of people at a time, and it's going to be extremely hard to get your name out there with an already known Democratic senator from 2012, first elected there under the Barack Obama presidency. Donald Trump's approval rating is not so high in Montana. We saw the tides turn in the 2017 special election. The House race here is marked as light red. Not so easy for the Republicans to win here. North Dakota and Missouri are pretty much their only possibilities of winning. And let me turn off my volume. The only possibilities of them actually picking up seats. And if they lose Nevada and Arizona, that puts them right back at 51 to 49. If let's say Democrats win in Tennessee, that puts them at a 50-50 Senate scale. And then we go down to Mississippi. If that Mississippi special election goes to the Democrats, a lot of things will turn out bad for the Republicans. And let's say in Arizona, John McCain chooses not to run before May 31st. We will see a special election come in 2018, and that will put 2 Senate seats up in the state of Arizona, in which 2 of them could go to the Democratic Party. And if even one goes to the Democratic Party, Republicans are pretty much screwed over for the United States Senate. Indiana, it's not really going to go red just based off the fact that the GOP doesn't have any strong candidates. They could turn into strong candidates, but as of they stand right now, they're not known, they're not popular, and they're not polling too well. All indications show that this state's probably going to go blue, especially with a possibility of a Democratic wave. In a red wave year, not so likely in the House, but in the Senate, they're even in a red wave year, they're not going to carry states like Wisconsin or Ohio or West Virginia or Montana. They could carry North Dakota or Missouri, hold on to Tennessee, hold on to Arizona. They probably won't win Nevada based on the fact that their senator there up for re-election is one of the most unpopular in the country. Down in Florida, it is possible, but that doesn't put them at any supermajority like it would have been possible a year ago, where they could have won states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, even Minnesota, or Virginia for that matter. But now these are all blue, and a number of these are going to start ending up blue. And then we look at the governor map, it gets even worse for the Republican Party. We have 15 seats up that are now toss-ups. And the state of Maryland, my governor, the second most popular governor in the United States, is in a toss-up state. He comes from a deep blue state like Maryland, but that shows that if Democrats come out to vote and they vote extremely partisan, a state like Maryland would flip. A state like Illinois would flip. A state like Minnesota would hold. Michigan would flip. Wisconsin could flip. Pennsylvania could flip. Colorado could hold. And New Mexico could flip. And Nevada could flip as well. There are so many possibilities for Democratic pickups in the governor map that'll likely stay in control of the Republicans, but there are so many possibilities for a pickup. Illinois, New Mexico especially. That one I think Democrats are going to target heavily. Maryland, my home state, I think Democrats are going to target heavily. I think they've given up on Vermont and Massachusetts. New Hampshire's leaning red, but Connecticut they're probably going to hold. They're probably going to gain in Maine. They're probably going to gain in Maryland. Even though I'm on my governor's campaign, the tides have been turning towards the Democratic Party, and it's not looking so good at this point. And Illinois itself, that one is probably going to be somewhat of a major flip. And over in Michigan, especially, that one's going to be a very prominent flip and something that's going to be at the head of, it's going to be the front of national headlines. States like Michigan that went to Donald Trump in 2016 are now showing more Democratic tendencies. What does this mean for 2020? And then New Mexico has a Republican governor. We know how pretty much Democratic that state is. In a year like this, even with like a Republican wave, it's not really possible with this governor map. These states have become so partisan that 2014 seemed like a century ago in terms of splitting the vote. Now it's just going to be, are you anti-Trump? I'm voting for you. Are you anti-Trump? I'm not voting for you, based off who you support. It's really all centered around the president, and that's not necessarily the best thing for the Republicans, because the way Republicans win is based off issue voting. In Maryland, they would have never won if it was based off partisan voting, but my governor laid out a plan that said, we care about all types of people, and we will do this. We will bring change when we go to Annapolis, which is my state capital, and we're going to change Maryland for the better. But now that people have become so partisan, it's no longer just based off where do you stand on this issue. It's more of what political party are you part of. That depends on whether or not I'm voting for you, and that's not good for Republicans. State legislature elections always favor Republicans because they do extremely well with talking about issues. The main point of the Democratic Party now, as of it stands right now, is not free healthcare or it's not free college tuition. It's, we're not Trump. Vote for us for that. And so far, it may not be the best thing, but it's working. It's working in the favor of the Democratic Party and working against the Republican Party. They've so closely tied themselves to the president with a popularity rating of 39.3% amongst adults and 41.9% amongst registered voters, which averages out to be 40.3% adjusted after the 538 poll was taken. It's not good for the president whatsoever. So we look at some recent polls. Rasmussen reports probably one of the more presidential favor towards Donald Trump, has a C+ rating from 538, gives him a 49% approval rating. That's nothing compared to the rest of them. The rest are pretty accurate. I mean, we see consistently an error in every single poll, 49%, but then 39, 44, 38, 42, 41, averaging around 40. Then yet again from the same pollster with the same rating, 49% to 50%. Then 40, 39, 41, 38. Then the same pollster yet again, 50%, then goes down to 39, 40, 44, 40, 40, 41, 37. The same exact pollster, 48%, and then it drops down yet again, 41%, 43%, 37%, 43%, 38%, 38%, and again, the same pollster. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because a lot of you like to point out the Rasmussen report, say, oh, Barack Obama's approval rating was lower than Donald Trump's at this point in the presidency. Rasmussen reports is extremely different compared to what we see with other pollsters. And I want to call it Republican bias because that's what it is. But since it is a pollster, you can't really call bias for either party, but we can say that it definitely favors the president a lot more than the other pollsters, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You cannot take specific parts of the country and label them as a national poll. Now, you could complain that that's what the rest of the pollsters are doing, but there has to be some realistic part of this. Donald Trump's approval rating is not 49%. It's not above 49%. It probably averages around 42 to 43%, averaged by Real Clear Politics, giving him a 42% approval rating. But this pollster right here, Rasmussen Reports, probably one of the worst pollsters that we see today. A lot of you say, oh, it got the 2016 election right. It really didn't. It only got the popular vote right, and so did almost every other pollster. They all showed Clinton ahead by 2 to 3%, and the average was around 1.5 or 6%. And you point back to statewide elections, well, they got the states of like Michigan and Wisconsin wrong. And Pulse Opinion Research is it's not as known as a number of these other pollsters, and that's not a good thing. When new pollsters come in and they show completely different data what then the rest of this trend is showing, you don't rely on it. You don't take the outlier and say, this is fact, this is set in stone, because it isn't. And you're just looking for something that isn't there because you're so caught up in defending the president that you don't realize that it's going to be your own downfall. Now, I understand that the president's approval rating may be a little bit higher than what the media suggests, but it's not 49%. It's not above 49%. Donald Trump's approval rating is extremely low. I trust 538 and Real Clear Politics more than any other averager of the polls because some like to pick and choose, but I don't trust Rasmussen Reports, and that's one of my least trustworthy options to go for polling. I'll take it if it's there, but if there's another pollster, then I'll probably trust them over Rasmussen based off previous history. So, just to tie this into how could 2018 be a red wave, I mean, it really can't be. Looking at the president's disapproval rating and how the incumbent party, even if Obama had a 50% approval rating the day of the 2010 midterms, Republicans probably still would have carried the House. And, Donald Trump's approval rating is at 40%. That's 10% lower, and Democrats are probably going to take control of the House and possibly even the Senate and could flip a number of gubernatorial elections, which are going to be a key factor in the 2020 redistricting. The stakes are extremely high for the Democratic Party, and so far, after 2017 special election to 2018 special elections, like the one coming up Tuesday, so far they have not let each other down. They are uniting as a party, no longer splitting between the Bernie and Clinton type of the party, and they're showing a firm opposition the same way the Tea Party did in 2010 against an unpopular incumbent president. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below. I think I'll have an election night out pretty soon, maybe Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, depending on how I'm doing it. But I'm using PowerPoint for the first time, so that should be pretty interesting. But again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.